Welcome back to Central Intelligence Bureaus. I'm your host, Wesley, and today we're heading into one of the most famous solved puzzles in the history of Byron Price's The Secret, a Treasure Hunt, the Cleveland, Ohio mystery. This isn't just a solved case, it's one of the best documented, most satisfying discoveries in the entire hunt. And in today's deep dive, we're going to break it down in a full the history of the city, the verse, and the image pairing, the thought process of the finders, how the location was confirmed, and what lessons we can take away for the 9 caskets that still remain hidden. Cleveland might not always make the headlines in the treasure hunting world, but this solve proved beyond any doubt that these treasures are real, the clues and deliberate, and with enough dedication they can be cracked. History and context of Cleveland sits on the southern shore of Lake Erie and is one of the major cities of the American Midwest. Founded in 1796, it became a key industrial and shipping hub during the 19th and early 20th centuries. It's known for its cultural institutions, the Cleveland Museum of Art and the Cleveland Orchestra and the Cleveland Cultural Gardens, as well as its sports legacy and its role in the Great Lakes trade routes. When Byron Price chose Cleveland as one of his 12 locations, he likely saw it as a city that blended recognizable monuments with poetic clues that could stand the test of time. The Cleveland Puzzles is widely believed to pair image 4 and verse 4 from The Secret. The image is striking, a winged figure holding a green gemstone backed by architectural details that match. The Fountain of Eternal Life in downtown Cleveland, a war memorial that honors the city's fallen soldiers. Surrounding imagery includes a pair of columns, leafy designs that resemble the footage in the cultural gardens, and subtle geographic shapes hinting at the curve of the nearby shorelines. Verse and image breakdown. Verse 4 begins beneath two countries as the road curves. At first glance is a riddle without context, but for local hunters it clicked. Cleveland sits in a region historically tied to both the United States and Canada, connected by Great Lakes shipping routes and cultural exchange. Some interpreted two countries as literal reference to the U.S. and Canada, others saw it as two national flags, which indeed turned out to be key. The verse continues with clues about columns, a fountain, and a location beneath a particular feature. This is where the cultural gardens come into play. The image, when compared to photos of the Fountain of Eternal Life, reveals an almost exact match to the statue's pose and the fountain's layout. Even the stonework depicted in the painting mirrors that of the garden's decorative walls. Treasure hunters also noted that the leafy patterns in the image were near identical to carvings in the Greek cultural garden, part of the sprawling chain of gardens in Wade Park. The discovery in detail. In 2004, 2 local school teachers, Brian Zinn and Andy Abrams, began to take a fresh look at the Cleveland puzzle. They began by walking the cultural gardens and comparing them directly to the verse and image. In the Greek cultural garden, they noticed something important. 2 flagpoles stood side by side, one flying the U.S. flag and the other flying the Greek flag. These, they believed, were the 2 countries from the verse. From that vantage point, a curved road matched as the road curves line. Nearby, a low wall with evenly spaced stones could be counted, and the ninth stone from the right turned out to be real, physical marker they could use. Below that marker, in a small planar area beside the wall, the ground had likely been undisturbed for decades. Armed with this theory, they sought permission to dig, and when they did, they uncovered a small ceramic box, the long-lost Cleveland cask. Inside was a key that Byron Price had promised could be exchanged for a gemstone. The hunt had produced another winner. The Cleveland find was celebrated not just locally, but the treasure hunters around the country. It was proof, tangible, undeniable proof that the hunt was real, the clues were solvable, and the rewards still waited underground. This find inspired a wave of renewed interest in the secret. People who dismissed the hunt as unsolvable began to reconsider. It also underscored an important truth: local knowledge is invaluable. Zinn and Abrams didn't just look at pictures online, they walked the site, compared details in person, and studied the city's history. That boots-on-the-ground approach gave them the edge. Lessons for future hunters. From Cleveland, we learned a few key strategies. Read the verse literally first. Before trying to overcomplicate clues, ask yourself if they can be taken at face value. Look for unchanged landmarks. Parks, gardens, memorials often survive decades of city changes. Local eyes catch local details. What might look like a generic column to an outsider may be instantly recognizable to a local at part of the specific building. This solve has also highlighted the durability of the casks themselves. After more than 20 years underground, the Cleveland cask was in surprisingly good condition. My analyzing and closing thoughts. The Cleveland Hunt was a master class in how to solve a prize puzzle. It combines symbolic imagery with on-the-ground verification and matched multiple independent clues to a single location. It also reminds us that while some hunts may feel impossible, each is designed to be solvable with enough observations, persistence, and teamwork. Cleveland's solved status doesn't make it any less fascinating. In fact, by dissecting how it was done, we arm ourselves with the tools needed to solve the ones still buried. And that's the goal, to bring these treasures one by one out of the shadows and back into the light. That's the full story of Cleveland's secret treasure, a solved mystery that still teaches us new lessons every time we revisit it. It's living proof that Byron Price's game is real, the treasures are still out there, and that the right blend of history, observation, and persistence can lead to success. Until next time, keep questioning everything.